Alright, last video I went over the Graveborn skill tree. This video I'll be going over the Spellshot skill tree. Spellshot is all about spells and guns. They have the ability to equip two spells. We'll talk about more in a second. And yeah, so there's combined guns with spells. Their class 3 is Spell Weaving. Casting a spell or reloading a weapon grants the Spellshot a stack of Spell Weaving, increasing spell damage. Spell Weaving stacks automatically decay after a few seconds. Casting a repeating spell has a chance to reward additional Spell Weaving stacks with each repeating cast. So some spells you like click it once and it fires. Some spells they like summon like a area around you. Some spells you charge it and then release, and then the repeating spells you hold the spell button and it'll cast it over and over and over again. That's what this is referring to. For the action skill, they technically only have one, and that is Polymorph. Spellshot turns an enemy into a skeep, which is like a skag sheep, for a few seconds. If the enemy is immune, the Spellshot instantly casts a free spell on that enemy and gains 2 free stacks of spell weaving. So I think when it says cast a free spell, it just casts a copy of whatever spell you have equipped without using a charge or putting it on cooldown. And you immediately gain 2 stacks of spell weaving. I don't know how much spell damage you get for each stack of spell weaving, but I'm not like 2 stacks is obviously significant if they're replacing your action skill with it against immune enemies. I could be totally wrong though. While Polymorph is active, any player that damages a skeep has a chance to cast a free spell. This effect is guaranteed the first time the Fate Maker deals gun damage to the skeep. If the Spellshot casts a free spell this way, they gain a stack of spell weaving. So you turn the enemy into a sheep, and then anytime someone damages the sheep, that player has a chance to cast a free spell. It's the same thing here, just cast your spell without putting it on cooldown. And then if a Spellshot does this, they gain a stack of spell weaving. Okay. So I guess, yeah, turn into a sheep. Find the biggest enemy, remove them from combat for a little bit, stack your spell weaving. Makes sense. Over the other ability here, Amahextras. The Spellshot may equip a spell into their action skill slot. Whenever the Spellshot presses the action skill button, they cast that spell. So, much like Zane could equip 2 action skills, he replaces his grenade with an action skill. This one kind of replaces your action skill with a grenade, but grenades are obviously spells in this game. So you get 2 spells instead of a spell and an action skill if you'd like, or you can have a spell and a polymorph. We'll have to see which one's more powerful when the game comes out, but let's get into the skill tree. Spell Sniper. Gain increased spell critical hit chance. 5-point skill. Spells cannot naturally crit just by hitting the critical hit chance, or just by hitting the critical hit spot. They have to roll a random crit in order to crit. And this is obviously a very powerful effect, so increasing that chance is a very powerful skill, especially at tier 1. Magic Bullets. 3 points. Portion of all bonuses the Fate Maker receives as spell damage is applied to their guns. So things like the spell critical hit chance and spell damage from spell weaving, a small portion of that applies to your guns. That seems powerful. So if you're just casting spells a lot and stacking spell weaving, just having that damage bonus also apply to your guns is pretty strong effect. Especially because your spells will be on cooldown from time to time, so having good damage with your weapons while your spells are on cooldown is important. It's a powerful effect. That seems like a good skill. And if you have both these tier 1 skills, you also get that spell critical hit chance applied to your gun at all times. This next skill here, Prestidigitation. Gain increased reload speed. So that's just more reload speed. That's always a nice effect to have. It's not flashy or powerful, but it's a powerful effect, something you probably want, especially if you're using guns a lot. Font of Mana. Gain increased spell cooldown rate. Okay. Gain increased action skill cooldown rate. That's just very powerful effect. If you're not using the Skeep, the polymorph effect. The action skill cooldown rate obviously doesn't do much, but having 2 spell cooldowns, or having your spells cool down faster, is very powerful. Lets you stack spell weaving easier. Puts more damage out. It's generally what you want to be doing with this class. Mage Armor, 1-point skill. Whenever the Fate Maker gains a stack of spell weaving, they restore a portion of their reward. So that's a very powerful effect, because the feast is whenever you cast a spell, you gain spell weaving. And so having 2 spells, an increased spell cooldown rate, and if you have a repeating spell, and if you're using the polymorph, you can restore your shield quite often. So depending on how much shield you get back with the skill, this could keep you alive very well and make you just nearly invincible, which is pretty powerful. Though it might only be like 10% shield, which case it might not be as good, but again, we don't know the numbers yet. We'll wait for the game to come out. Next point, just warming up, gains increased fire rate for every spell weaving stack. Alright, so yeah, if you have a lot of stacks, this makes your slow weapons that much powerful, and that much more powerful, and makes your fast weapons chew through ammo. But fire rate's always a good thing to have, especially when you have a lot of damage bonuses. And then if spell weaving is easy to stack, or if it's like a high fire rate bonus, skill's probably very powerful just to have the mix between guns and spells. Tier 3, Glass Cannon. Fate Maker's ward no longer automatically recharges, but they gain drastically increased spell damage. So if this gives you a lot of damage, and this Mage Armor gives you a lot of restoration, these 2 skills are probably going to be very powerful together. It's like, it drastically makes me think it's close to 50%, possibly more. If it's only like 20 or 30%, the skill's probably not worth it, but if it's, again, like 50, 60% damage, the skill's probably insane. Especially when you combine it with Mage Armor, that's a lot of damage. And the Mage Armor gives you the ability to keep your shield up, even without the ability to recharge naturally. Yeah, that Glass Cannon skill's what it sounds like. It makes you a Glass Cannon. You lose your survival, but you gain a lot of damage. Probably very good for bossing. Imbued Weapons, 5 points. Whenever the Fate Maker casts a spell, their guns deal bonus damage of that spell's element for a short time. This effect stacks once per spell. So if you have 2 spells, and one is fire, one is shock, and you cast both of them, your weapons will do bonus fire and bonus shock. So it's pretty powerful. And yeah, so it stacks once per spell. So, and even if they're the same element, you'll just get double the damage from this, of that element. But yeah, this lets you add multiple elements to one gun. And if you're like in the Graveborn tree, also you can have dark magic added to all your spells. So this imbued weapon is probably pretty powerful. Because what we've seen so far, status effects are strong. We'll have to wait and see how those scale into the end game. But even on the intense difficulty, status effects have been pretty strong. Just in the gameplay we've seen so far. So being able to apply multiple status effects all at once is probably a powerful effect. High thread count. Gain increased max spell weaving stacks. Okay, so there is a cap on spell weaving stacks. It doesn't say how many you have, but being 1 point, free to pick up, there's no downside to it really. So more max spell weaving stacks. If they're easy to stack, you're definitely going to want to increase your max so that you can stack more and get more effects. Again, synergizes with the fire rate boost that we saw there, the damage boost, the magic bullets here, the magic armor allow you to restore. Because I guess if you're at max stacks, you can no longer get the mage armor bonus, which isn't great. So increasing your max stacks is powerful and probably necessary also. Warcaster, kill skill. Whenever the Fate Maker kills an enemy, there's a chance their weapon is instantly reloaded. This chance is increased per spell weaving stack. Right, so more synergy with this high thread count right here. We saw on the Graveborn, casting a spell, the capstone, casting a spell activates all your kill skills. Graveborn Spellshot seems like a generally strong combo, so having this kill skill with the capstone on the Graveborn seems powerful. Even if you're not using the Graveborn as your secondary class, this effect is just strong. Double Knot. Whenever you score a critical hit with a spell, do bonus damage equal to your gun's element. Okay, so whenever you just roll the random chance to get a crit on your spell, it deals bonus damage. That bonus damage is based off of your gun's element. So just more damage for your spells. Pretty straightforward, probably something you want. 1 slot, 1 kill. Increased gun damage per spell weaving stack. That's a 1-point skill, so I imagine it'd be a decently sized bonus. However, we saw this skill up here. Portia bonuses a Fate Maker receives with spells as applied to their guns. So, and the feat just gives you more spell damage with your spell weaving. And with magic bullets, it makes the spell weaving stacks naturally give damage. And this skill gives you even more damage based off of your spell weaving stacks. So, again, if these spell weaving stacks are easy to obtain, you get a lot of bonus damage from these spell weaving stacks on your guns and your spells. However, the capstone, sever the thread, 1 point. Gun critical hits have a chance to instantly reset all spell cooldowns. This skill is a short cooldown. Okay, so high fire rate weapons will be able to score more crits faster, typically, which lets you roll the chance to proc this more often. Also synergizes with the fire rate boost up here, just warming up, synergizes that very well. And also the higher crit chance on your spells, combined magic bullets gives you a higher crit chance on your guns, which makes it very easy to proc the sever the thread. So you could possibly have your spells active all the time, and that lets you stack spell weaving very quickly. It lets you just all your bonus. You kind of get the snowball effect, where you just the more spell weaving stacks you have, the easier it is to stack your spell weaving stacks. Yeah, that's a spell shot. Next video will be the Spore Warden, and I'm gonna be live streaming a playthrough of this when the game comes out. It'll be my first playthrough. Other than that, I'll see you next video, which will be the Spore Warden.